What's up everybody, Fortexfiend here. Welcome back again to my YouTube channel where I'm going to be talking some more SD Gundam Generation Eternal. And for this video, I'm going to be focusing on the topic again of SP converting your pilots, but this time I decided to start kind of like a mini series on this channel. I'm going to be going over the best SR pilots of specific series that you guys should consider using your SP conversion coins on. Now I know there's also R pilots that are also really good, but a lot of us have been using them on the SRs, and as we've seen, the investment for the SP coins to use on either your SR or R pilots, it's huge. They get a stat boost, they get brand new abilities, they get updated passives. It is a fantastic addition to this game. So I'm going to be choosing the best of specific series. What I'm going to be doing is choosing 2 attacker pilots, 2 supporter pilots, and 2 defender pilots from each series. Now, before I get started on this, I know there's going to be a lot of you guys in the comments saying like, oh, how come my favorite wasn't chosen? Or maybe you should have talked about this pilot. Look, guys, when it comes to this game is very flexible. There's a lot of different combinations and things that you could do because there's so many pilots, there's so many units, and if a pilot that I don't talk about happens to be your favorite, then go ahead and use your coins on that pilot. For example, I used my SP conversion coins on Nana Trinity because I like Nana Trinity, as crazy as that sounds. Do I think she is a good supporter pilot? She's okay. I mean, if you take a look at her skills, she has range boost, which is probably the best skill that she has. And then she has save energy. And then if you take a look at her stats, they're all right. You know, 714 range is not too bad. She doesn't have double chance support, unfortunately, or doesn't have the option to do that. But hey, she is a favorite, so I went with her. Will I recommend you guys to SP convert her, you know, from a logical standpoint or an unbiased standpoint? Probably not. But again, if any one of the pilots that I talk about is not your favorite, or I might have missed out on one that you think I should have talked about, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't consider them because this game is very flexible. But for those of you that are on the fence and are wondering, oh, which pilot from this series should I SP convert? Well, then again, this is going to be my list for you guys. And before I go ahead and get started, I know I've already been going on with this video, but you guys know the drill. Subscribe button, notification bell, like or dislike, and comments. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, guys, so without further ado, this is going to be my best picks for Iron Blooded Orphans SR pilots. You guys shouldn't be surprised that I'm starting off with IBO. I've been watching the series. I absolutely love it. Mika is my favorite protagonist in Gundam overall so far, so let's get on started here. So we're going to go ahead and use the Social Age website here for this particular video. I could have made slides, but I decided just to keep it simple and use the resources that are available online. Check this website out, guys. It's awesome. Anyways, it shouldn't come to a surprise that Mikazuki August, the SR version, is going to be my first pick for the attacker pilot. Not only does he have an insanely high melee stat when you SP convert him at 780, but just look at the skills that he has. He has attack burst level 3 and MP up level 3. What is there more to ask, you know, for a attacker pilot? Sure, he doesn't have that optional double chance step, which is a skill that some pilots do get that are of the SR rarity, but his other skills, I think, more than make up for it. And then look at what he has. He has increased damage dealt, he has affinity with the Alea Vinyana system, as well as Tekkaden, so he already has 2 tags that he's already taken advantage of, and then they gave him the additional melee increase by 5%. And then in terms of like a free-to-play standpoint from the development tree for which mobile suit you should put him in, I mean, it's no question that the Lupus Rex is probably going to be your best bet for him. I mean, it's an insanely good SSR unit that you could develop. I do understand that it's extremely tedious to get the necessary requirements for this particular unit, but trust me, guys, it is awesome. It also has some really good tags with like one-shot killer and alternative series, so it's a very strong unit, and its most powerful attack, which is the Alea Vinyana limiter off, has a base of 6,000. It has an increased crit damage by 20%. It has a 20% chance to crit. Sure, you need tension max or greater, but the pilot that uses this has that. You could fix that problem, so this is going to be the best option, and this is why I say Mika is going to be my #1 choice for SP converting in terms of like your IBO attacker pilots. And then the second one is not going to be a surprise either, but I think it's McGillis Farid. He has a really high melee stat as well. Not as high as Mika, but it's at 758. If you take a look at his skills, I actually think his skills for being a attacker pilot is pretty solid. they got boost range in case you want to go a little bit more of like a range melee type of a unit. And then afterwards, he also does have melee boost, which increases his melee stat further for that turn. And then in terms of passives, you got your increased damage dealt, increased melee. He has affinity with Gallarhorn, which is really good, and increased melee by 5. And the unit that you'd probably want to run him in is going to be the Gundam Bale. Now, the Gundam Bale, I would say, is overall a solid free unit. In terms of its abilities, it only has 2. Bale Sword, which does have a 1 out of 4 chance to crit with a 30% increase in critical damage, and also Railgun. And remember, because the McGillis pilot does have that increased range for 1 turn, you could theoretically use that and then take advantage of using this skill at range, because the range is only at 2, so you could increase it by just 1 more. And then it does have Railgun, which is an okay skill for this particular unit, giving it a 4 range and 4200 power with an increase up to 10% the farther you are from your enemy. So that is why I chose McGillis Farid as my second choice for attacker pilots that you should consider SP converting for Iron Blooded Orphans. Now, I know this guy is going to get brought up, okay, but I'm going to bring him up. Ein. So Ein is also really good. 786 range stat is nothing to scoff at. And his abilities are really, really good. Attack burst level 3, and he has that optional chance, or that temporary chance step counter that you could use for 10 SP cost. So he can theoretically double chance step if you need him to. And his ability is Gallarhorn. But the reason why I didn't choose him for my recommendations is really the only mobile suit, if you're considering taking advantage of his tags, which is Gallarhorn, is going to be Bale. But the problem is, since his range stat is the highest, he's only really going to benefit most from using this. I mean, yes, he can use Bale Sword. It's still going to hit fairly decently hard, but his melee stat is not the highest. I mean, if you take a look at his melee stat, it's at 546. And Bale's best move is the Bale Sword versus the Railgun. So yeah, you could use the Railgun, but at a range of 4 and 4200 power, this is like one of like his only really solid options. I mean, you could try to use them in other units that are not of the attacker type. You could always mix and match whatever you want to do. But I didn't want to, fail to mention him because he does have really good skills. It's just the options that he has currently are not necessarily the greatest. However, as this game progresses, he's probably going to get some better options later down the line. All right, so that concludes my attacker pilots for which ones I think you should be considering to use your coins on. For sure, Mikazuki, and then finally, McGillis Farid. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to the supporter pilots. And unfortunately, when it comes to Tekkadan, I couldn't really find any ones from Tekkadan that really stood out. It's like they had like goofy abilities for like supporter pilots, like Horse Guard, which I thought was strange. So I couldn't really find anybody from the Tekkadan representatives, but then I saw Gaelio Baldwin, and I made sure I got that pronunciation right. So he is a supporter pilot that I highly, highly recommend. And if you take a look at the skills that he has attack burst, and he also has that support attack. And the reason why I think this is really good on supporter pilots is because the importance of supporter pilots being able to counterattack twice and also support twice is really, really important, because you also want to be able to implement those debuffs. That's what supporter pilots do. They're not necessarily there to help you deal a ton of damage, but they are there to support your attackers to deal more damage. So he has 2 really, really good skills for a supporter pilot. And then if you take a look at his affinity, he has both Alea Vignana Type E, and he also has Gallarhorn. And the unit that I think he's going to work with the best is going to be the Chimaris Vidar. I mean, this thing is really, really good. It has really good tags. And as you can see right here, it has 4 different weapon skills, which the most powerful one is at a range 4, which increases damage taken from special weapons up to 20%. And then you also have one that's also at a range 5 that also inflicts up to a 30% defense down. So, and it also has shield defense. So this is one of probably the best unit that you're going to use that's free-to-play friendly for Gaelio Baldwin. And this is why I chose him as my first pick for the Iron Blooded Orphans supporter SR pilots. And the second one is also going to be a Gallarhorn representative. It's going to be Julieta. So Julieta has a okay range stat, but a very high melee stat. And in terms of her actual skills for being a supporter, I actually think they're really good. She has boost range, and high speed. And this is very effective for supporter pilots, in my opinion, because you want them to have that flexibility of being placed at maximum range and also essentially staying away from harm's way, because you want your supporters to stay alive, so that way you always have access to the debuffs that you have. And then in terms of her tags, she has Galahorn, and we just talked about the best unit that you could probably use her on as well, with Gaelio, which is going to be the Kamaris Vidar. So this is going to be another one. Sure, she is more of a melee, but she is going to take advantage of that particular tag, which is the Galahorn tag. So Julieta is going to be my second pick in terms of like which SR supporter pilots for IBO that you should consider using your coins on. A runner-up that I will mention is going to be Zaza Fossil. So Zaza has some pretty good stats with both range and melee. In terms of skill, boost range and range boost. So those are also very, very good for your supporter pilots. Now, because he does run the mercenary tag, there aren't really a lot of Iron Blooded Orphans mercenary units that are supporter type that he could, be paired with. But you can pair him with a UR Astaroth Rena if you want to. Or you could also, which I found interesting, use him on the Astray Blue Frame 2nd L, which we've gotten that as a free unit, which is actually a really good free unit. It's not Iron Blooded Orphans, but it does have the mercenary tag. So that is one unit that you could run Zaza Fossil with if you're looking for something like that. And then you could also run him also in Astaroth Rena, which are other solid SSR choices. They're not supporter type, but they are attacker type if you're looking for that type of a supportive pilot. But he's going to be my runner-up that I want to mention for our IBO supporter pilots. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and talk about Defender SR pilots from the IBO series that I think you should consider SP converting. And the first one is hands down going to be Gaelio Baldwin again. Great defense, great reaction, but look at his skills. Is there anything more to say? You got Force Guard and HP Repair. An SR pilot with HP Repair, restoring HP by 40%, so he could preserve his longevity as your Defender pilot. Yeah, he doesn't have double support defense, he doesn't have that optional one, but the HP Repair, I just couldn't pass up on that. And then in terms of his actual mobile suit, I went with the Galahorn tag again. And if you take a look at this, right, his first option is going to be the Gray's Ein. So this one is okay. It has really high HP. It does have, 3 different skills right here. It has a mobility down and an attack down. The ranges aren't that great, but if you're looking for a more like non-gacha free-to-play option, this is one that you could use. However, if you do pull on the gacha, which I know we all pull on the gacha, right, whether we're free-to-play or not, the best option for him is probably going to be this unit, the Gundam Astaroth Origin. This thing is really good. Good defense, good HP. If you take a look at the skills, very, very good skills. It has a decreased physical weapon bar 20%, and then also attack down by 30% with some solid ranges. And then the tags are also really good. You got Galahorn, Alea Vinyana system, Unstoppable, Ace unit. This is a really, really good unit. I do understand it's not as free-to-play friendly as the Gray's Ein. However, even if you do pull this unit, it's a really, really good investment in an SSR. And if you're looking for something to use that's best with Gaelio, the Defender Gaelio, that's going to be the one. And finally, my second choice for our IBO Defender SR pilots is going to be Chad. So Chad is not nearly as good as Gaelio, but he's still pretty solid in his own right. He's got Attack Burst and Force Guard. The Attack Burst is just kind of but the Force Guard I was a big fan of because I always like that on my Defender units. That way they have a high chance of surviving. And he does have access to both the Alea Vinyana and Tekkadan tags, which pretty much gives him the best option for Astaroth Origin as well. Again, the Gacha SSR, but it's a very good Gacha SSR. You can also consider running him with the Gray's Ein. However, I think his best option, just like Gaelio, is going to be the Astaroth Origin. Now, in terms of like runner-up for Defender pilots for SR Iron Blooded Orphans, I couldn't really find one. If you guys feel I missed out on one, mention it in the comments section below, and also let me know what you guys think of the particular pilots that I selected as the best SR pilots to use your SP conversion coins on, or which ones do you think I might have like forgotten to miss out, or maybe like I'm underselling them or like not even thinking about them. I'd love to hear your guys' comments in terms of videos like these. Again, this is a fun mini series I wanted to start to help you guys that are playing the game, that are wondering who should I use my coins on. I love this series, which pilots work best. But let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear everything in the comment section below. Thank you guys again for watching. Stay tuned for the next video and stay blessed, everybody.